water, earth, fire, air.
Today, I'll be recreating dishes from each of the 4 nations in Avatar: The Last Airbender. The live-action Netflix adaptation came out a while ago, so I'm not sure if this is still relevant, but I wanted to do a part 2 of recreating foods from the incredible Avatar universe. And this time, I thought it would be fun to explore the cuisines of each of the 4 nations, so let's go in order of the Avatar cycle and start with water. In the show, the water tribes are heavily inspired by indigenous Arctic cultures like the Inuit and Yupik. And like the people who live in those regions, the water people primarily eat hunted meat, seafood, and the scarce naturally available plants and berries. And most of their dishes are either stewed to warm their bodies or dried and preserved to keep during the harsh seasons. A perfect example of this would be...
No way! Stewed sea prunes?
Help yourself.
Sure could go for some delicious sea prunes.
To start the stew, I seared my salmon in the pot until each side was slightly golden brown. It doesn't need to be fully cooked at this point, but we want all of those little crispy bits because they add great flavor. I repeated the same for the onion and garlic because again, more flavor. And once that's ready, I added 2 cups of water, a piece of kombu, aka dried seaweed, and our sea prunes, aka jujubes. I went with jujubes here because they look prune-ish, and since Aang tries sea prunes in the show,
I'd steer clear of the sea prunes.
I thought they were ocean kumquats.
Close enough.
I wanted to make sure they were also vegetarian friendly. I also wanted to note that in the official Avatar cookbook, I believe sea prunes are mushrooms, but from my very professional research, I found that according to Inuit and Yupik legend, mushrooms are either sky shit, poisonous, or evil, so they don't tend to actually eat mushrooms. So yeah, anyways, I removed the kombu from the pot and added in the bonito flakes. But once that's done, we can strain the broth back into the pot and add in our seafood, the salmon from earlier along with some squid and our sea prunes, of course. In the show, the soup looks super hearty and rich, almost creamy, so I thickened it with some cornstarch and seasoned everything with some sea salt. Cheers. I can see why this is a water tribe dish. It's super comforting and super warm and hearty, but I'm very scared to eat the actual sea prune. Cheers. Did not like that. Don't think Aang was exaggerating. I'm just gonna push that to the side and enjoy the rest of my sea prune stew. Up next, the Earth Kingdom draws influence from many different East Asian and Southeast Asian cultures, and because it's huge, there's a lot of diversity in the ingredients and a lot of regional variation in the dishes as well. Because of that, I wanted to revisit a dish I made in the last video and try making a different version of the iconic
unfried dough. May we eat it and be reminded of how on this day the Avatar was not boiled in oil.
Into a large bowl, pour in the glutinous rice flour, cornstarch, sugar, milk, and a splash of oil, and whisk it until it's super smooth. Separate a small amount of the batter into 2 bowls and color them blue for his arrow and black for his eyes. Cover all the bowls loosely with plastic wrap and working one at a time, microwave the dough for 1 minute, stir, and then repeat 3 to 4 times until the dough comes together into a ball and turns transparent like this. Time for the fun part, let's beat the mochi. Okay, that sounds very wrong, but onto an oiled surface, smack and roll the dough with a rolling pin and then fold it into thirds. And get ready for an arm workout because we're repeating this 9 times to get the mochi super smooth, but honestly, it's pretty fun. Once it's ready, refrigerate the mochi for at least 1 hour and then repeat this with the blue and black colors as well. Okay, to form the actual mini angs, roll the blue dough out as thin as you can. As you can see, I wasn't very successful here, but that's totally fine. And then cut out a bunch of his little arrows. Finally, you can set those aside and roll out the white dough to around 1/8 of an inch. We don't want them super thin since we want them to be able to stretch. And now you can make little guides with your cookie cutter of where the little angs will be by gently pressing down on the dough. And onto each head, place an arrow and 2 little black bits for his eyes. Then just gently roll over everything with your rolling pin to get a single mochi sheet. And finally, you can follow the guides you made earlier and cut out the little avatars. These turned out so cute again. It's so good. I like how stretchy they are. If you've never had mochi before, it's honestly pretty difficult to describe, but it's just very chewy and sweet, and it's one of the most satisfying foods to eat. So thank you to the people who suggested that I make the unfried dough into mochi. I'd say it's very successful. This one I'm personally super excited for because I love when my taste buds are being attacked, just like how the Fire Nation attacked.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Horrible joke, but the Fire Nation closely resembles East Asian cultures, specifically Imperial China and Japan. And for obvious reasons, their foods often feature spicy and savory flavors in dishes such as hot soups, spicy stir fries, and grilled meats. But what's weird is that most of the Fire Nation foods we see are snacks.
Oh, you're getting up? Can you get me some fire flakes? Oh, and fire gummies!
I don't think we ever see fire gummies in the show, so I modeled these after Japanese daifuku, which if you don't know is a stuffed mochi. So I'm starting by combining the strawberry puree, sugar, and corn syrup over medium-low heat and cooking that until it starts to bubble. And in a separate pan, I added the pectin, which will thicken the gummies, baking soda, and water, and stirred it all together until the bubbles subsided and looks like this. Add that into the strawberry mixture and bring it up to 320 degrees Fahrenheit before removing it from the heat. Please be super careful when working with sugar like this. It gets super hot, so please don't burn yourself. Okay, to make these fire gummies, add in your pepper flakes. I'm using ghost pepper because, again, my taste buds enjoy a little tingle, and then add a squeeze of lemon juice to balance all of the flavors. Pour the candy into a baking dish or candy molds if you have one. I'm using an ice cube tray, and let the gummies sit and firm up at room temperature for at least 2 hours. Using the same mochi dough as the unfried dough recipe, roll out small golf-sized ball pieces. Small golf ball sized pieces of dough into thin discs and cover the gummies completely, making sure to pinch the bottoms to seal the gummies inside the mochi. And these look so satisfying. My mouth is salivating. I have high hopes for this one. Cheers. I've never tasted anything like this before. The filling is almost jam-like and the mochi around it is super chewy. So the combination of the two is so satisfying. And honestly, the strawberry filling is not that spicy. It's actually very well balanced and it's actually so good. I'm going to devour the rest of these, so I'll see you later. Again, I don't think we see a clear shot of these besides this scene from the literal saddest episode ever.
I'm gonna go get a bag of Sizzle Crisps. Stay here and stay away from that monster.
Run away! Get away from him!
I'm always excited for a meat snack, so let's make these. There's not a lot of cooking for this one, but in a large bowl, we're going to marinate the bacon pieces with chili crisp, brown sugar, togarashi, and garlic powder for about an hour in the fridge. Once it's ready, preheat the oven to 325 degrees and place the bacon on a baking sheet in a single layer and bake it for 15 to 20 minutes until it's literally almost just burnt. We want a bit of that charred flavor to mimic it being cooked via fire bending. They're onto something. I feel like this is a very Sokka snack, and I will say meat snack, very good. These are slightly crispy, slightly spicy, garlicky, sweet. It's like the perfect combination of flavors. I've literally just been sitting here in silence eating these. I've finished most of them. The air nomads are inspired by Tibetan culture and Buddhism, and their cuisine is known to be simple, sustainable, and they're strictly vegetarian, which makes sense knowing what we know about their spirituality and how that relates to their airbending. But oddly, they have an affinity for sweets and desserts.
Are you going to help me with these cakes or not?
All right.
1, 2, 3.
First off, before we start baking, I just want to say that Monk Gyatso is insane and y'all aren't hyping that man up enough. To make the cheesecakes, I started with a graham cracker crust and crushed up 2 sleeves of graham crackers before mixing that with brown sugar and melted butter. I pressed the mixture evenly into my mini cheesecake tins and popped them in the freezer while making the custard. Into a large mixing bowl, smush and whip your softened cream cheese before adding in the sour cream, condensed milk, powdered sugar, and vanilla. And unfortunately, I am not an airbender, so I had to whip this cream by hand. But to make the cheesecake a little lighter, I folded in the whipped cream along with some lemon juice into the custard. I piped this mixture onto the top of each of the crusts, filling the tins and smoothing off the tops, which was literally so satisfying. And since this is a no-bake cheesecake, just pop them into the refrigerator for at least 6 hours or overnight to set up. Now for the actual fruit part of these fruit pies, I'm adding a spoonful of compotes, jams, and curds onto the top of each of the 4 cheesecakes. And to finish them off, I'm piping matching colored whipped cream around each of them to make cute little swirls. I'm so excited to try this. Cheers. Oh my god. Oh, that is so good. It's so good. Now I know why the air nomads are such big sweet tooths, because their desserts are so addictive. This is very dangerous. I've eaten half of this and I haven't tried the other flavors yet, but mango peach. Beautiful. Lemon curd. This is the one. Strawberry. Was not expecting that. I literally probably ate a whole cheesecake while filming this, so anyways, thank you for spending time with me and giving me an excuse to try even more foods from the Avatar universe. Let me know if I missed a dish and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.